Hello everyone, so my name is Bonke Kimani and I'll be doing my individual scholar paper presentation. So the title of the paper that I'm looking into, or rather the one that I looked into, is Human Factors in Cybersecurity, an Interdisciplinary Review and Framework Proposal. So the authors of this paper are Kalam Kadak and Abu Ullah, and this paper was published in International Journal of Information Security 2025. It's a volume 24, issue 119. The publication date for this paper, it was published on 29th of April 2025. So, and it's for the unit, the course, Cybersecurity Essentials for Practitioners. So moving on, so why did I choose this paper? So cybersecurity has traditionally been viewed as a technological challenge, but growing evidences emphasize the pivotal role of human factors in shaping both vulnerabilities and resilience. So I'll give a personal experience. So my motivation is it originates from my academic and professional experience at the intersection of software engineering and cybersecurity. This is because I was a developer before I started doing my master's degree, and I was integrating secure system across different platforms where I did witness human behavior, user awareness, and organizational culture can significantly influence the success and failure of even the most robust technical solution. This experience honestly reinforced my understanding that technology alone cannot ensure security. It must be complemented by informed, vigilant, and well trained users. Now that I'm doing my master's, I am particularly drawn to the interdisciplinary framework that integrates human psychology, organizational behaviors, and technical design. And this paper really resonated with me deeply in the career direction and advocates for human-centric approach to cybersecurity. Uh, the paper perfectly aligns with my personal and professional aspiration to advance cybersecurity beyond the code that I write and system and towards a holistic discipline that empowers individual strength, organization culture, and fosters global trust. So an overview of this paper is I was able the paper was integrated by it looked into 41 studies articles, but first before it got to the 41 articles it started by 128 peer review articles that were accessed through the UCL library. So how did it narrow down from the 128 peer review papers to 41 studies that the paper really looks into? It went through 4 steps, where the first step it involved screening to eliminate articles that were not peer reviewed. That it eliminated around 28 papers, leaving it from 128 to 100 articles. Then moving forward, the next step it reviewed the abstract studies without expliciting mention that did not explicit mention cybersecurity and human factors were removed. It removed approximately 8 papers, and then that we had 92 studies. Then the third step it involved the papers that did not have articles that did not have sufficient emphasis on human behavior were excluded, where it excluded 14 articles, and then that amounted to 78. And the final step it focused on areas pertinent to human factors. So some of the areas that were looked into were computer science, behavioral science, psychology, sociology, criminology, education, and ethics. And thus, we were able to get our 41 papers, our 41 article papers. So we will look into some of the this paper really advocates for something called the human-centric cybersecurity framework, which is divided into 4 dimensions, which I'm going to look into my next slide. So What does it mean? These four dimensions. We have the psychological dimension, training and awareness, the organizational culture, and social technical integration. So, in the psychological dimension, in cybersecurity, this involves stress and cognitive fatigue, where we can give an example of SOC. They are security operational centers analysts. They often experience high cognitive load, increasing their likelihood of errors. So attackers frequently exploit these psychological factors to manipulate individuals, necessitating targeted uh, interventions and build resilience. Another thing is the training and awareness, where cybersecurity education and training programs have emerged as a critical area of focus, with studies exploring innovation approaches like gamification, adaptive learning, and also targeted awareness, where gamification has shown that it enhances engagement and retention of training programs, particularly among diverse demographic groups. And also another thing is the adaptive learning, where there are tailored training programs that align with the user behaviors and organizational lead that are essential for improving cybersecurity. On to the organizational culture, we've seen that we can say the paper talks, or rather the paper really speaks about the authors talk about how leadership really influences uh, some of the things. Leadership and emotional intelligence really influence the behavior and adherence of the employees to the cyber securities. It shows that leaders who demonstrate empathy, effective communication, and inclusive inspire trust and enhance the overall organizational commitment to cybersecurity practices. The other thing is the social technical integration, where it blends the ethical AI and the human reliability. This means that with the generation within the generation that we are in, we know that people have been really relying on, the paper talks about the way people have been relying on only the research that they do. But now we are looking into how can we solve this issue. So where does this paper stand in the field that we are in? So this paper really talks about it. It's more. It goes beyond technical cybersecurity by integrating behavioral and cultural factors. Also, it builds on early works. That is some of the works from 2022 and the 2023. Then it presents one of the most comprehensive interdisciplinary syntheses, and also it emphasizes on actionable real-world strategies rather than theory. So some of the possible extension that I could consider if I was to do uh, some of the possible extension that I would consider of the work is I would look first into the research gaps that exist. And one of the research gaps that exists is the lack of longitudinal studies. And I'll be able to sort this by testing the sustainability of gamified and adaptive training programs over extended periods, because only these because this will provide insights into long-term behavioral changes that they impact the organizational resilience. Something else I will also look into is the cross-sectional uh, application. This is amplifying the HCC in different areas, not only in the areas of computer science, but I also look into the healthcare, education, finance, to assess adaptability across industries. Then the other thing I would also look into is with the emerging technologies, that is blockchain and securities, IoT systems, and quantum computing. So critical analysis and the reflection of this paper is this paper. Some of the strengths of this paper are it looks into over a decade of research, that is from 2011 to 2024. Also, it highlights inclusively ethics and psychological realms as key real-world cybersecurity challenges. It also introduces the human-centric framework linking theory to practical security application. It also promotes a shift from viewing humans as weak points to valuing them as active defenders in cyber resilience. Another limitation, some of the limitations of this research is article paper is framework is mainly conceptual and lacks empirical validation. Something else is adding quantitative data or case studies will enhance practical credibility. Uh, Something else that I would also look into in the future is simply because there are limited exploration in cross-cultural aspects, I will also look into areas that have not yet been looked into. That is different countries, yes. And thirdly, I will also look into the cultural norms and tech access need deeper analysis for global applicability. So some of the key takeaways are people are from are core of cyber resilience. Another thing is the HCC connects human behavior and technology. Then consideration, the paper also talks about the consideration of culturally inclusive practices. So thank you, and that was my presentation, and that is the reference to the paper that I was looking into.